What's going on, good people? It's Nguvu from High Caliber Firearms Training. I'm just doing a match breakdown of the USPSA match that I shot from Concealment yesterday. So this is not the first stage, but the first stage in the video. I'm just going to let the video play, then I'll come back with my thoughts.
You're ready. Stand by.
All right. So this one was a little tough for me, being as though I couldn't figure out the best way to shoot it. And there were so many targets that kind of appear, disappear, depending on where you're standing. So I got a stage plan from one of the other shooters. The problem was I didn't have it memorized. So I had to actually look at each target. So usually before I shoot a stage, I can close my eyes, see where every target is, and kind of go over that to ingrain it so it's memorized. This one, I couldn't do that. Partially because this area here was so small that all the shooters were in there, and it was just hard to kind of go over this weird sequence of shots that you need to hit in order not to miss any targets. So my plan was just go right to left with the reload. I'm fine with, I was a little slow to the first shot. It took a little longer than it should have from the holster. I'm kind of over confirming. So that's longer than it should have just to hit that popper. That activates the swinger. I'm fine with my transition through here. Now this is where I opted to reload. I was a little bit slow with my reload. Like getting my gun back up. My gun should have been up a little earlier. I also didn't like my transition between these two pieces of steel. Way too slow. You see how I knew where that target was? Where the tuxedo was, but not exactly where it was. So I over transition, so I went past it and had to come back. And here, I have my gun up. Getting your gun up early is great, but here I have it up a little earlier than I would like. I wasn't exactly sure when these two targets were going to come into view, so see how my gun's up, I'm waiting. I would have rather taken one or two more steps running and broke down and shot my way in, and that would save me a little time. The swinger had already made up my mind just because of where it was. I was going to take two shots, and if I just tried to land one, I took three because right here, it appeared. I'm like, fuck it, shoot at it. But I knew I didn't hit it. So you see when the gun goes off, the target is already swinging out of the way. So I ended up with only the area is the alpha. So I had with an alpha mic, and I was fine eating a mic on that. Here, you can just tell that I didn't know exactly where the targets were. I knew where they were, but not precisely, so I could snap right to them. So I'm kind of fishing around looking for them. Same thing with the steel here. So watch when I shoot the paper and then this last piece of steel. This is hesitation. Steel, see? So that took way too long. I ended up with a mic on that last piece of paper. So I think what I did was I pulled away too soon. Because I called two good shots, so I'm not sure what happened or what I didn't see. I was fine with the one mic on the swinger because I figured the amount of time that I would have to wait for two passes to wait for the swinger to come back wouldn't have been worth shooting another shot, especially since it's not guaranteed since it's swinging. So I was good with eating one on that, but I didn't want the second mic. This was the first stage that we shot for the day, so I'm just going to let this one play. All right, so this was a 3 per stage. I was kind of okay with my execution until I got to the end. With this being the first stage, I was a little lacking confidence, I guess, with shooting on the move. It isn't something I've done in a few months, but it's the way you kind of have to shoot this stage. So I was good that I kept moving for the most part. Even if it was a small creep, like here I'm just creeping, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with creeping on that. Same thing on these three. Reload was fine. Shooting my way in on these. Biggest issue was here. So So here I missed the second piece of steel. If you miss a piece of steel, just keep going. I should have already been on the next steel and should have ran the whole rack and then come back to the one that you missed. So I went back for it and still missed it. And then missed it again. So that's just from aiming at steel and not, or I'm sorry, shooting at steel and not aiming. So I'm not selling my dot. I just lost my fundamentals on that. And then once I missed it, I kind of panicked and started rushing, which doesn't help the situation either. So this is just making a rookie mistake on these pieces of steel. That steel is incredibly close. There's no way I shouldn't have gone 6 for 6 on that.
Shoot ready.
So here is another stage that I made a rookie mistake on. I'll let it play, then I'll explain what happened.
Stand by.
All right. So this stage, I had originally planned on shooting that target, these three in here, and then shooting my way in position here, shooting those, and then that target that I'm shooting at now, that piece of steel, and that target I had planned on shooting from the next position. So I planned on reloading here and running across to that next shooting area. Once I figured that I can shoot them from here, and then I could just run to that back corner, then I realized I could take or remove one of the areas that I need to go to shoot, so it was going to be more efficient. The problem was I changed my stage plan, but I didn't adjust my round count. So at this point, I ran my gun dry, so I must have been riding the slide lock, so it didn't lock back. I didn't know it was dry, so once I got in position here, I reloaded, but gun goes click because it's empty. So mistake one. Mistake two was coming into position just a little out of control. I should have bled off a little more speed. So that's me stepping over the fault line. So I planned on putting the ball of my foot up against the fault line and then my heel down on the ground just to help me slow down. Because this is one of those corners where it's not, I don't know if you can see it. There you go. It's 90 degrees, but the angle of it is pointed in a way that it's hard to get your foot across it. So because of the weird angle, it makes it seem like it's a lot sharper of a corner than what it really is. And then I just didn't bleed enough speed, so I overshot it a little bit. So I stepped out of the fault line, so I had to come back in before I could shoot. Otherwise, I would have had to eat that penalty. And then, of course, I had the issue with my gun. Otherwise, I was fine with it. I did take an extra shot at the tuxedo here, but I did that on purpose just as insurance. Which is good because I ended up 2 alpha, so I don't know where that other shot probably was a Charlie into the black, which wouldn't have counted. I was good here, shooting myself into position. And I wanted to set up hard on these two. And that's where my slide should have locked back. And then finishing here. So I had my time-wise, I still was decent even with the fuck up. But
Are you ready?
Just mismanaging time cost me in points where it could have been a lot better. So that was kind of the theme of today. And then this is another one. There were 2 other stages, but my GoPro was shit in the bed. So I didn't get the very, very first, now that I think about it, I didn't get the very, very first stage that I shot. So this one was just a basic classifier, 6R6. So turn and draw, 2 on each target, reload, 2 on each target.
All right.
So that was horrible. Hits weren't good at all. And then good things that I got my head around. You can see I'm indexed. Cover garments cleared. But it just took me too long from when I actually turned around. So now my gun is up, but I'm not shooting. Then it finally shoot. So watch how long it takes me to fire that first shot. See that delay? That should be about half that time.
Stand by.
Bang. That's what I should have been shooting already. And then you can hear my cadence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Something like this, especially with the targets that short, you want your transitions and your splits to be pretty close So it should sound more like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 instead of having the delays between 2 and 3 and between 4 and 5. So this is just shot slowly. So, and that's just lack of practice and haven't been shooting for 3 months. So transitions were garbage. But either way, hopefully this helps someone. Back to the grind. If you have any questions, post them below.